This is 4TW Live for September 5th, 2014. Episode 1. Your game sucks, so we're gonna sue. This is 4TW Live, where we talk about the latest news and events in geek culture. I am Admiral Joker. Joining me this week is Cardi and Mario. How are you guys doing this week?
Oh, great. Doing awesome.
Doing pretty good. Doing good.
Yeah. Well, this week's been somewhat of an interesting week, so let's go ahead and get started. We have a lot to go through this week. First up, I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but there's actually a class action lawsuit against Sega and Gearbox about the disaster that was Alien Colonial Marines. You guys aware of this lawsuit?
Oh yeah, just read about it this morning when you mentioned it to me.
Yeah, Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just simply saying, I mean, I remember how awesome, quote unquote, non-quote unquote, the game was. So it didn't strike me as odd that this happened.
Yeah, it wasn't a very good game. It wasn't a very good game at all. But because of that, a bunch of people got together and sued Sega and Gearbox, saying they misrepresented what the game was supposed to be. I mean, I remember Gearbox saying, "Oh, this is going to be the Halo killer. This will redefine the first-person genre." All redefined is what a crappy game is. Well, Sega decided to do a settlement, but in the process, Gearbox is saying, we had nothing to do with the way this game was promoted.
Man,
Even though Gearbox was releasing tons of photos and footage for the game without even Sega's authorization. They just went in and said, hey, this is what the game's going to look like. In fact, some could argue that the bad publicity could maybe rest solely on Gearbox's head. What do you guys think?
You go ahead, Mario.
Well, like I said, I mean, it didn't strike me as a surprise that the game, I mean, that this was going to happen after the fact that we all saw the scores and played the demo and all that. What can I say? I mean, Sega's been on, overall, I have to say, they have not been on the upside in mostly everything. You know,
No.
post the Dreamcast era and such. Not that I'm saying this doesn't quite come as a shock, but it sure as heck did not. It didn't shock me as much as other people took this. I'm like, you know, like I said, they've been on a bad roll. So again, it just doesn't come as a shocker.
Now,
Yep.
is it Sega's fault or Gearbox? Because Gearbox hasn't exactly been the premier label they were as of late. Yeah, Borderlands is cool.
Mm-hmm.
But look at Duke Nukem Forever. That was rushed crap. I mean, and Colonial Marines suffered kind of the same problem Duke Nukem did. It was stuck in Colonial Marines. I think was popped around between studios and was in development hell for a long time until Gearbox finally did. Mm-hmm. Very similar situation with Duke Nukem Forever, and both games had incredibly lackluster results. Graphics that looked like something from years ago. Maybe some old engine. I mean, the graphics are like something you'd see maybe in Half-Life or maybe even early Half-Life 2. Nothing modern.
Exactly.
And now, you know, it's finally about time somebody stepped at the plate and said, you lied. This is not what you promised us.
And I'll tell you this, you know, that this brings up also another, which I put this question to you and also anyone watching, that, you know, are we getting tired of games being hyped up? You get all this advertisement shoved in your face, like as of recent Destiny, which everyone says would be great and all, and it's looking good, so it may live up to the hype. But let's look at games like Watch Dogs, for example. What a big example of something kind of like this, where it was hyped up to something of grand proportions, and then when it finally come out, it's a disappointment, and it's not exactly what was really hyped up or represented to begin with. And I think that Sega has the right to do this by all means, because you know what? They're giving them what? I mean, they're expecting them to provide a product. And if they can't provide the product that they're paying them for, then okay, bitch, let's either you fix it or you pay us back for the money that we're going to lose because you're freaking retarded. You don't know how to do what you're supposed. Give us what you told us you were going to give us, and everyone else.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the first time we've seen a game completely misrepresented what it was supposed to be. I mean, look at Killzone, the Killzone for the PlayStation 3. Remember, that was the big demo reel, sizzle reel that they did when the PS3 was originally supposed to come out, and that game is nothing like what was on the demo reel.
Granted, it was still a good game, but it was not on par with what they wanted to execute. But you're right.
Yeah, and Square's Enix is real bad about that. I mean, it used to joke about that everything they'd ever show was nothing more than pre-rendered.
Of course.
And Sony, of course, is very notorious for that as well. So do you think that this is actually... by the way, Sega is allegedly settling for $1.25 million. That's a lot of money, especially for Sony, who hasn't been in the best of shape lately.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, just kind of adding a little more to it. I mean, back to my statement where I said, yeah, they've been on the downside. And I know, as we kind of said, Gearbox is working with collaboration with them to build this game. And yes, we're on the bandwagon and say, yeah, someone misrepresented the game. Was it Gearbox? My stance on this one a little more, was it both? Because if I'm the one who's obviously giving this other company the opportunity to build this, and if we're already noticing, well, the game doesn't look like it's finished, guys, is this what we're planning to release? I don't know. I'm almost thinking, who dropped the ball first? Or is it simply the wrong on both ends? Just poor management on both sides.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. It is pretty bad.
Yeah, you could argue Sega could have been more hands-on, but you know what? At the same time, we don't know what their inner workings, their communication. Yeah. They may just say, okay, they come to us, give us a presentation, this is what we're going to give you. Okay, wonderful, sign on the dotted line, off you go. And they just go off and do their own thing without being, maybe they don't have someone, always watching over them. We don't really know how their what their inner workings is. So really, it's hard to judge the situation other than just to judge it from the exterior, which is Sega gave them money to provide a game, and the game they were supposed to provide was not what they represented, and just judge it basically on that only.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, it's not what people were expecting, and. Well, actually, you know what? I think people were expecting that. They're just hoping to be really, really, really wrong.
Yep.
That's true. It's like when they can make a good Sonic game one day, they'll get my faith back, but...
Lost Worlds wasn't bad. But we'll talk about that towards the end of the show.
Okay.
With tonight's topic. But a company that's really, doing gangbusters... On the flip side, Samsung has finally announced the long-awaited Galaxy Note 4, along with a few other devices that some may even surprise people. These include a curved screen Galaxy Note Edge, a Gear S, which is another smartwatch but looks more like a smart bracelet to me, and a VR headset from the folks at working with the folks at Oculus. The Note 4 will. The Note 4 will have a nice big 5.7 QHD screen. It'll of course be I believe it's a quad-core processor phone. Which again, why do you need quad processor in a phone? I haven't heard if it's 64-bit or not.
It'd be nice if they finally did.
Why? The phones only have 4 gigs of RAM. Unless you use more than 4 gigs of RAM, 64-bit's really overkill.
Not to go too off topic, but I also want to mention that there's a picture of the new watch, because they've been coming out with the smartwatches. Man, it looks impressive, man. It looks really nice.
Supposedly it'll have, from what I heard, it'll have 3G built into it. It has an AMOLED display. This thing looks pretty nice, although it's a bit bulkier than I'm used to seeing the smartwatches. It actually looks bigger than a Pebble. and
Which
many
I
of the
have.
other
I love
many of the
mine.
other
I love
smart
them both.
devices out there. Yeah, but the cool thing also back to the Note 4 is it will have a longer battery life.
My Pebble.
The only downside I see to the Note 4 is it does not inherit some cool features from the S5, mainly its durability. It is not rated for dust protection or waterproofing.
Which yeah.
Kind of expected. That phone
I did
isn't really
too.
designed for that. So I'm not going to complain too much. What do you think of the Note 4, Cardi, since you are a mobile phone geek?
Yeah, and because of working for Altel a few years, and which became Verizon, I learned a lot about smartphones. I got into it and everything, and to be honest, I was like BlackBerry, okay, Windows mobile phone, whatever. You couldn't ask me to tell the difference, but yeah, now I skip ahead to present day, and I'm still an Android person, and I'm looking at the market as a whole, and looking at Samsung. They've always been the top, in my opinion, of Android from the get-go, and especially when they started the Galaxy line. And as far as this goes, I'll just say that this was done on purpose, because if you notice, what Sega, we were just...
So, hey, I've been doing the same thing
I
all
know,
day.
I know.
We have a
All
lot of
these
S
S's.
companies.
What Samsung's doing, if you've noticed in the past 3 years, they're not just doing Galaxies and then El Cheapos. They took a better route, which I'm impressed with. No more El Cheapo phones. I mean, they have the real flip phones still that they make, but they're doing this route. They'll come out with their Galaxy, premium phone, but then they come out with these alternatives like what is it? The Express, which is a lower version and a little bit smaller screen version of the Galaxy S4, for example. It kind of came out between the S4 and the S5, and it makes a good, cheaper alternative for people who can't afford the S5 upgrade or even the S4. Samsung's
always been really good about having product lines for everybody,
and
and
that's kind of
quality
why
product on top of that.
And in this particular case, this Note alternative is all it's going to be is an alternative. It's not meant to really replace or be an upgrade to the Galaxy S5. Because I'm sure they've got a Galaxy S6 in the works, but they're not going to be like Apple and try to push something out that really isn't just so they have every year. Which I respect Samsung for doing that, because I don't know if you've heard, we don't want to go too far into Apple because it kind of goes off topic, but Apple's having a lot of problems apparently getting ready for their new iPhone, and it's not looking good at all. I mean, the iOS is already having a lot of problems, and then we'll mention another topic here coming up about them being hacked, and so yeah, basically Samsung's perfect right now. They need to keep focusing on this, keep their focus away from Apple. Because, and that's the funny thing, if you ever noticed, by the way, like, Apple was always about, like, taking shots at Samsung. Samsung's like, fuck you, man. We're like, dominating you guys, and you don't even realize it. And that's what's going on right now.
Samsung, I think one problem I do have with Samsung is too many SKUs, too many products at times. I mean, we have a Note 4. I mean, you got the S5 and the Note, right. Note 4. But now we have, the Note 4 Edge,
right,
which has a little bent, I'm sure Cardo will show a picture. It has a bent, portion of the screen for, it looks like a toolbar or for a little bar on the side, like a shortcut bar. But I'm like, I don't like it. This is silly. This is not functional. Not only that, it takes up screen real estate. They've even said it will cut off the corner edge of applications. No, that's not cool.
The only thing
that multitask dock thing on the Galaxy phones that just about everybody turns off.
I mean, just to kind of not adding the gasoline to the fire here, but I remember seeing I think it was last year at Samsung in Korea, and they were talking about what was it, the OLED technologies, and they were talking about this idea on the curvature idea on the phone. But what they were trying to imply was if you were in a meeting, supposedly, you would have your phone down flat and they may have a cover on, but if you happen to have gotten some type of message, the message could be displayed on the side for you, which I thought fair, nifty, but not enough for me to spend $600-700 on that.
Or get a watch that does the text messages be like.
Or precisely, or the old-fashioned thing, just look at it later. You know?
Oh, by the way,
if you had to.
No. We have to constantly know what's going on with Paris Hilton at all times.
Hey guys, by the way, I feel so dumb. I was all on the first page the whole time. I never thought to scroll down, and there's more pictures in the second page. so I'm sorry, but I'm just now showing like I'm showing the edge like you were talking about, which looks weird as shit.
What do you think? You're the cell phone connoisseur.
And the VR and also the smartwatch. But here's the thing. This whole new thing they're looking at. I could see the practicality of it as far as, think about it this way: when you hold these bigger phones, okay. I don't know if you noticed, but you kind of have to hold your hand a little differently than you're used to. Okay, mm-hmm. Like in the picture, the guy's holding it where he's got his hand cradled, and he's kind of having it rest against, his hand, and your thumb basically moves around as much as it can.
You're gonna bump the shit out of that.
Well, the thing about it is, like, if you ever notice, sometimes the phone kind of. I'm trying to think of how to explain this, but it needs something to kind of like grip on. So I guess I could see how you would, it's almost like you're holding a, like kind of like a Walkman, guys, where you hold it and you just like press your button to, kind of, I don't know. I'm trying to think of the best way to explain it, but
it's like they're trying to conveniently have it mold to the hand a little easier thumb-wise, because you're right. I can see where you're getting with that, because it was all strategically placed where you knew your thumb can move that much in terms of lengthwise, I guess, forward to back. I can sort of see that. I can see what you're talking about with this, but my problem that I see here is that you almost have to hold the phone preferably on your, technically speaking, on your right-hand side to have your thumb aligned with that side. But how many, left-handed people do we also have who prefer to hold their phone on the left?
Well, and another thing, too, which I'm showing the picture now on the screen.
It is not ambidextrous.
To show, well, it's not. And maybe they're going to have an option, but maybe not.
Yeah.
They didn't say, but one thing you'll notice is this guy's holding it on, fingers on both sides, and you'll notice the screen cuts off that extra rounded portion. So on some screens, it doesn't have that menu there, so you can't accidentally press something or whatever if you're holding it, kind of like I'm showing now, kind of like this motion, kind of like with my phone.
Yeah, because I know when I hold my phone, I hold it like this. Yeah.
Like you hold it like that, you're not going to worry about it, pressing the side button. So I don't know, man. I'll be honest with you. I gotta see this thing in real life.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking this is going to be one of those things where it sounded great on paper, but when it came out, it's going to probably cause more issues than it's worth.
Yeah.
That's my only concern.
How about the watch?
Oh, the watch, dude. This watch, I'm a big, as I showed to the audience my Pebble. Man, this watch. Here's the thing, okay? I tried out the very first generation of smartwatch. The Gear is what it's called. And I tried it out, and the thing is uncomfortable as shit. That's the difference between why the Pebble, I think, is better. Mm-hmm. But I did try the newer one, the one before the Gear S. Or actually, no, I'm sorry, it is the Gear S. I tried this out. And it is way more comfortable. I think Samsung probably got a lot of complaints from people because the original Gear, when you put it on, felt like You remember when you were a kid and you got, I know Matt knows this, like the Ninja Turtle plastic watch that had the flip
Yes,
thing.
I have one still
Yeah.
somewhere.
And
Yes.
it was cool, but it was uncomfortable as shit because it was bulky on the top and it
Yeah.
didn't have any curvature, so it was
No,
uncomfortable.
not at all. No.
Well, that's kind of how the gear, the first one, felt, and it also, not to mention, if you have a big wrist, if it's too big, you're fucked because there's no extensions. Only Sony and Pebble offers extension or bigger
they
band
soft
options.
option.
Yeah, they offer, but see, they couldn't do it with the gear, the first one, because the band is built in to the base, so you can't replace the band. Well,
So let's be honest, it didn't fit your wrist.
Well, it barely did. It was on the last notch, man. I'll be honest with you. And even if I was like 150 pounds less, my wrist is still pretty big.
So
And
is this looking like a product you'd purchase or one you'd consider?
be honest,
If you were in the market.
to be perfectly honest, yeah, because it's wow. The first off, they took away the camera, which I thought was a smart idea.
That's stupid.
Because
What
the
am I?
camera. Well, the problem I think with the camera was like the
Show
practicality
you
of
better
it.
too.
Yeah, the practicality of a camera on your fucking watch, and you imagine you're like, jeez, how stupid does that look? You know what I mean? It's just, I don't know. But yeah, I probably would go with it. But the only thing I would be concerned about is battery life, because my Pebble has a monochrome screen, and I have a Doom.
It's e-ink, isn't it?
Yes, so you could see it even in bright light. And
Well, e-ink also doesn't use any power. It only uses power whenever it changes.
right, and whenever I use a custom screen that looks like Doom, it looks like a scene from the original Doom where he shoots an imp every time the minute changes. It's really cool. Yeah, and the health bar at the bottom is the hour and minutes instead
Nice.
of health and armor. And I'll be honest, the battery will last for like 3 straight days, maybe 4, and then I have to charge it. Then
Yeah.
I'll get a warning. It'll say 20% or
Well-
10% left. So this thing might eat through battery probably. My guess would be probably a day, maybe 2. So
And the last thing, well, there were a couple announcements from Samsung. I think they also talked about a new another event this week, something about a new tablet that's an active tablet, a more durable tablet. Yay! God knows I've busted my fair share of Galaxy tabs. Well, my kids have, rather. But the other thing that Samsung's getting into, no surprise here, really, but I'd expect more from Sony in this area than Samsung. Gear VR. Yes, they are working with Oculus to create a VR goggle that you can put your phone in.
yeah, look
What?
at that bad boy.
No, I kid you not.
Oh, you got to see the picture because I have it pulled up here.
Seriously?
That looks-
I'm a geek?
Woo.
This is geeky. Geekier than it
Very
needs to be.
geeky.
This
You
is
put your phone
you put
to your
phone-
eyeballs. No.
Yeah, the phone is flip. I'm showing the picture of the phone. It's facing inward, so
This
it
is
clips in, and then you put that up to your face.
This is the stupidest
And then
thing
it's
I have
Samsung.
ever seen.
This right here is gonna.
And
then
I'm
you
gonna
get a little
have to agree with
controller.
you.
You got the cute little.
Really,
controller.
Samsung? You got to see the Engadget site. There's a gif of a dude wearing it.
Oh yeah,
Oh, I'm totally on it.
yeah. It's
Right
part
there.
of the whole,
I sent it in the chat. It is awesome.
Yeah, it's part of the whole cardboard deal that they're putting together, which I don't know if anybody's seen news about it in the past month.
Okay.
Google Cardboard.
Sidebar.
Yeah, sidebar.
Is Oculus ever going to take off?
I don't know, dude. I don't know.
I have a Virtual Boy right back here. Trust me, that thing didn't take off.
It's
I know.
good to watch people like PewDiePie and stuff on YouTube using it in games and stuff. But outside of that, the between the cost
It's a
of
gimmick.
it, it's a
It's
gimmick. Right? Between
It's
the
a
cost
gimmick
and
like
everything
3D
else,
or
it just-
D-Box.
It just has no practicality, and it's too expensive, and yeah.
Like 3D or Gearbox or D-Box in a movie theater. Why? Movies are perfectly fine in 2 dimensions. I hate 3D. I hate 3D movies. I'm sorry. IMAX is cool. I like IMAX.
It's a bigger 2D screen. That's why you like it.
Yes. Well, no, because now I can't go to an IMAX movie without being in 3D. You sons of bitches.
That's.
I think the last movie I saw in IMAX that was in 2D was Skyfall. Skyfall wasn't in 3D, and I hope they never make a 3D Bond movie. I don't think they.
Yeah, same here.
I don't think so. But, it's MGM. What can you do? But
Exactly.
Bond, Sony, has also announced a few new devices this week. They announced a new phone, the Z3, the Z3 Compact, and a Z3 tablet. I like how they keep the naming conventions. The Xperia Z3 is a 5.2-inch phone. It will have a 1080p display, a 7.25 gigahertz Snapdragon processor, 3 gigs of RAM. Again, you don't need 64 for less than 4 gigs. With a 20.7 megapixel camera. What the hell do you need a 20.7 megapixel camera for?
Going the route of Microsoft.
Running Android 4.4. It is also It also has IP6468 dust-proof, waterproof rating, similar to the Active. By the way, Sony, I think all their more recent phones are dust-proof and waterproof. Correct me if I'm wrong.
For the most part, yeah. That's the
Which
way
I applaud Sony for that. I hope more manufacturers go in that area.
There's a new version of their smartwatch as well. And they
yes.
even have the smart band as well.
Which I'm not that impressed with when I was looking at it. I think Samsung has a better one.
Oh yeah, yeah. See what Samsung did is created one that could be used for everything from
it's a device.
Going exercising to everyday wear. Well, Sony took the route of creating one that's for everyday wear, and then a separate one called Smart Band that basically is meant for, exercise and that sort of thing. So it has.
Well, it looks pretty cool. Looks nice.
The one
simple and sleek.
Yeah.
Right.
The one thing I think Sony, the only reason I may ever consider buying a Sony phone is the camera. Now, I do movies. I'd like to be able to shoot footage with a cell phone. I think that would be cool. Because sometimes you don't want to be walking around with a DSLR when you're trying to guerrilla shoot stuff, because then it looks pretty obvious what you're doing. Sony has a ISO. The new camera they put in the phone has an ISO sensitivity of 2800. I don't know if you know what ISO is. It helps with low light sensitivity and low light performance. This thing is going to be usable in very dark areas with low light. The only thing is, just because it has that kind of sensitivity doesn't mean it's going to have isn't going to have an ass load of noise on top of that. So it'll probably have some sort of software to get rid of noise, and the images probably aren't going to look that good. But that's just my opinion. Would you guys ever consider buying a Sony phone like one of these? Because I'll be honest with you, Cardi and I watched the Sony presentation this year, and I really kind of liked the Xperias. Well, we watched the CES presentation. Thought it was pretty cool.
It's not bad.
From a few people that I know that have actually owned Sony phones, from what I've heard, solid phones. So from they say Sony's very much taking it seriously when it comes down to this market as much as possible. Yep. But again, they're. I don't know if you guys would agree to disagree or not, but it's kind of like they're still a bit overshadowed, let's say, by the giants like Samsung, like iPhone, like LG, give or take. But I think they're on the right track. They just gotta keep coming at it and appease to what some phones can do and what some phones don't do.
Sony's Android implementation a little bit better.
Okay.
It's much more modern in my mind. Samsung's is very kind of blah. But the Z3 Compact will be a 4.6-inch with a 720p display with similar specs to its big brother. Only difference is it'll only have 2 gigs of RAM and a plastic frame, and I don't think this one is waterproof or dustproof, actually. And they also have a tablet coming out that's also very similar. That has very similar specs as the phone. Which is actually, you know what? Something I like that Sony does. They take the phone and the tablet and give similar specs in the generation. Samsung does not do that.
Not at all.
Not at all. The phones are usually more up to date than the tablets are.
Agreed.
I like Sony doing that. That's pretty cool. I give Sony props. I'm definitely going to watch this and try these out when they come out because I'm in the market for a new phone. So maybe I'll convert. Who knows? It would be interesting to see.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'll be. And by the way, I wanted to add that when it comes to Android devices, one of the biggest things people look for, specifically people that know what they're shopping for when it comes to Android, is the lack, or I guess I should say the amount of bloatware that the provider and the ISP provides.
God, HTC is the worst.
And HTC, as everyone knows, is the worst, and probably LG is right up there. Samsung, the thing about Samsung is they have bloatware, but it's practical, it's useful, and it works.
SL is awesome.
They update it all the time. It always works, and it doesn't give you shit. And the thing with Sony is they have very little bloatware, and their stuff works as well. So that's why I think they may get a lot of people to buy them. And I'm still kind of a Samsung person, so it'd be hard for me to give up Samsung. But
Sony's putting up a very good argument.
Yeah, they are. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I might, to be honest, if I didn't go with another Samsung phone after my S4 is kaput, Sony would probably be like right there as far.
Yeah, because I know I'm not buying an LG or a Motorola, or I'm definitely not buying an HTC. No. Those things are no. Why? Those things are.
Let me toss a question to both of you guys here, and this is going to come off a bit odd. I'm not a tablet user, to be very honest, and let me just ask this question for you guys. This is more for curiosity than it is here, and boy, this is probably going to shock a lot of people online. Biggest question, and I'm going to use Sony as a prime example because this is perfect right here.
Okay.
Sony so far is doing, from what we're all generally agreeing to, is that they're putting on the same type of technology, pretty much what they're doing across the board on most of that product, minus maybe the lesser phone. But yet the specs are still keeping across the board, even going to the tablet. My biggest concern about this now is, what's the biggest thing that's going to make people want to get the tablet if the phone does everything the tablet does?
Bigger screen.
Is it really just that?
Yes.
Is it really just
honestly,
the bigger screen?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I cannot use a phone as a full functional web browser. I can browse some pages, but some I just can't use with a phone. I can do it on a tablet. A 10-inch screen can fit a decent web page.
Right. Mm-hmm. Not to mention stream if you're watching Twitch or if you're watching Netflix. It definitely helps having that bigger 10-inch, 8-inch, whatever screen, because it comes in clear and everything.
Now,
and I can understand that part. My next question to you is simply this: the thing about the tablet with me is that when I get it, I feel as if it's limited, most of them, but yet allowed to offer other options. I feel as if it is restricted by it. Most of them come in Wi-Fi portions. Some of them do come with the Wi-Fi 4G LTE structure and stuff. But yet that turns into more things you got to invest into on that tablet versus it being something that is more conveniently just to kind of walk around your house with, in this case, and just simply being there only. But yet people want to take it mobile. I want to take that 10-inch, screen with me in my car for my kids, for this and that. I want them to watch Netflix on or anything like that. Well, there's other things that are going to come with that, but yet for me, I see it more stuff you got to come at a cost in a way. So why not just give them a fairly good, decent-sized smartphone that the image quality is still great because the image quality is still the same as the tablet.
The image quality on the new Note is pretty good. That thing's a very high resolution display.
Oh yeah, I'm not denying that.
And the thing is, though, when you're trying to watch Netflix, I can't watch Netflix on my phone. It's too small. It's uncomfortable, and I'm watching on the phone. If I sit there and I watch it on a tablet, it's very enjoyable. It's almost like I'm watching it on a small TV. I mean, come on, most of us, our first TVs were probably smaller than the tablets we have now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
So, it's not, when you're doing certain things, you need a tablet. A tablet is, we can talk about this on a different time.
Sure,
about
sure.
whether or
Sorry
not tablets are replacing. No, it's perfectly fine. About whether or not tablets are replacing PCs. I think that's a topic. No, next week's topic. Note this: PC, tablet. We're going to talk about that. So I think that's a very big trend.
I think we're maybe going into more of a hybrid idea because people are
possibly, especially with what
asking
Microsoft's been doing.
You're right, and because people want that horsepower to say, "I want to play my MMO, but my tablet can't handle that."
Well, Microsoft's trying to push that initiative. Trying to say, create a unified interface across everything, so that way you could easily move from a PC to a tablet without any problems.
But you know what, guys? But you know what, though? I don't know if you guys have noticed, and if you noticed, I keep bringing into the conversation smartwatches. Mm. Well, the reason I'm doing that also is so people realize that if you notice, first off, the smartphones are getting bigger, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Tablets are still predominant, but those are getting to where they're standard, usually 10-inch. You're not seeing any more 8 or 7-inch tablets really that much anymore.
Yeah, they sell big. The
do,
Galaxy Tabs sell very well.
Or like the Nexus 7s.
But what I think
Minis are really so.
But what I think's happening is I think the companies are starting to get. It's going to eventually get to a point where you're going to have smartwatch, phone, tablet, and
I'll be completely.
You know what I mean?
I don't see the smartwatch
and
going.
No laptop is what I'm saying. It's eventually going to do away with the laptop. Is you're going to have a tablet that can have a keyboard flip out. Then you'll have your cell phone, which it'll be a big enough screen where you could still kind of do stuff you could do maybe on your tablet. And then you have your smartwatch, which gets do even a little less, but still get what you need to get done. So I think that's kind of the route it seems like the companies are going with the 3 devices.
Well, the laptop, the big market for the laptop is still the professional.
Right,
but the professional, as we go to a VDI, virtual desktop infrastructure, for those that don't know, pretty much your desktop running on a remote computer. Right. Once we start getting to that, especially with Citrix and VMware, you can pull those up on your tablets and have your desktop on your tablet pretty much.
Exactly.
So you don't have to worry about having to remote in with a laptop. You can do it with your tablet. People do it at my job all the time. Granted, we don't really, it works, and it works pretty well. But, it's not perfect, but it's getting there.
Exactly.
And but I don't know if we're going to see the end of the laptop, but I think we will see the end of the smartwatch. I'll be honest with you, it is geeky as hell, and it's like wearing a calculator watch. I don't know why I'm showing my wrist. I don't have one on, but
oh my gosh,
I'm sure we all had calculator watches at one.
We all did.
Not me, but guess what I had? The Casio universal remote control watch.
Yes, I remember.
Oh my gosh!
I remember that.
Oh man, I used to fuck with people
totally.
So bad.
So
I'd program it to the TV in school, and then when it's on the homeroom news, turn the channel.
I remember.
Teacher's like, "Who did that?"
But we'll get to the point, I think, where the smartwatch will be a niche market. But I do think that we're seeing the tablet's going to be, or a hybrid will be the way to go, more or less. Yeah. A tablet with a keyboard, because it's going to be needed, because you can't type out a TPS report on a touchscreen.
No.
But, the company I think that is trying to lead the way is Microsoft. And they are trying to finally get with the times. And one thing they've finally gotten with the times with is, letting people play the full version of a game as a trial. Microsoft has never done that before, as far as I can remember.
No.
Direct. And the new Forza Motorsport 5 will be the first game to receive the Gold Weekend treatment, which, hey, congratulations, Microsoft. You're ripping off Steam once again.
Yep, exactly. That's my exact
Steam's been
thoughts.
doing that for years.
For years, you've been able to get
Long
short
time.
games.
But you know what? Welcome to the club. And I think Sony does that too, actually, don't they?
Sony, yes, they do. You could get demos, straight download them and try them out. And there's even timed demos as well, which give you full access to the game for a period of time.
Yeah, because most demos are just like a short version or like the first level of a game and then it's done.
Yep.
But I like the idea of you being able to test out a full game. That is cool. Kind of reminds me of, Sega Channel for those that had that back in the day.
Oh, yes. I love Sega Channel.
I knew a few people who did. I
had
couldn't
it.
afford it.
I did.
I had it. Me
I
and
knew
Matt
about
had
it.
I had it first.
Yeah, I know.
But you got Roadrunner before me.
Yeah. We were one of the test. We were a test. There was only 65 customers chose in the entire Central Florida and Tampa Bay area, and we were one of the families, and we got it. Let me tell you, bro, the speeds were ridiculous because it was uncapped.
I remember
It was
when
uncapped, bro. Oh man, it was fast.
the old gray surfboards.
A 15 ping in Quake. Oh my god, and it sucked. We had to move in 2000 because, but this was back in 96 when we had that.
No, 90, 99, 98, 99. It was right before episode 1.
98, 99. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
We downloaded that episode 1 trailer was our test to see how fast it really was.
Oh, it was fast, so fast.
And yes, it's sad to admit there was a point. Hey, you know what? As crappy as episode 1 may have been, when we first saw that trailer, we were like, "Oh my god, new Star Wars!"
Yeah, which I'm sure that when the trailer for this new one comes out, it'll be the same thing.
Probably about the same thing too.
Oh yeah,
Geek unmentionable everywhere.
Pretty much.
But Microsoft, welcome to the club. I look forward to seeing what other games are released in this type of environment, and hopefully maybe they do it for the 360 too, because Xbox One just isn't taking off the way they hoped.
No, it's not.
No, it's not. I didn't even get one. I have my brother has one, and he's like, meh. He doesn't really play it much.
We talked about it last week. I mean, PC can be your next gen console. I bother.
And to be honest, and like we mentioned, in the we're gonna call it the Lost Pilot episode.
I'll get it. I'll figure out a way to get it off Twitch, and we'll put it up.
Yeah, we'll figure out a way to export it.
It is on Twitch. It is on
fault.
Party's Twitch channel if you want to watch it.
Yeah, if you want to check it out.
We should have to export it so we can post it.
It wouldn't let me move it to YouTube yet because I realized what I did wrong. I thought I changed, because you have to go on YouTube and set it to allow long videos, and I didn't. But then I looked in the little guidelines, and it said the videos have to be less than like 2 hours or something, and ours went way over 2 hours because we also had a lot of content on there could have been cut out, so post editing whatever. But
I don't edit our shows that way. That's just how I roll.
Yeah,
do it live
exactly.
Yep.
But with Microsoft, them finally getting with the times. One of the cool features I like that Microsoft does is cloud storage. You can store your game information in the cloud. But sometimes the cloud isn't entirely a safe place. Many celebrities learned that this week when, through some social engineering, according to Apple anyways, that's what it was doing, they managed to hack about 100 different celebrities' iCloud accounts, getting some pretty risque pictures. Now, I don't think the lesson here needs to be don't take nude selfies of oneself. I think the lesson we learn here is, 1, know how to set your phone not to back your shit up to iCloud all the damn time. 2, know how to check your iCloud to delete shit you don't want out there. And 3, multi-factor authentication.
Which
in fact,
Google
Apple even said
has been doing for the longest time.
And Apple lets you do that. You have to enable it.
You have
Google
to enable it.
To.
Google forces you, which
Apple probably should.
They should.
But it's Apple. Yeah. But still, God knows they force you to do everything else.
Oh, they probably will now.
And if they would have used multi-factor, they may not have been hacked. And their security questions, and all they did was, it looks like what probably happened. I don't have the exact details of what happened. Speculation is they simply just did password resets and used publicly available data to answer the questions.
Yep.
Okay.
Stupid.
Here's a tip. If you ever use a security question, don't use the real answer.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Use
don't.
the fake answer, yeah.
No.
Exactly.
Fake it.
Yep.
They ask for your birth city. Mention some city that you like, not the one you're actually born in.
Exactly.
Create something fake that you can remember. Here's the thing with the here's the thing, though.
Like Matt says Metropolis. Oops, sorry, I gave it. No, Gotham.
There we go.
Yeah,
Done.
Gotham.
Everybody knows now.
Hold on. Let me make
No,
a note
even
of that
I
real quick.
I won't use Gotham as that security question.
You
trust
wouldn't
me.
make it so obvious.
That'd be the second guess.
That'd be the second guess, yeah.
If they know me. But still,
Mushroom
and
Kingdom.
lock yourself down, people. Remember how you do these things. And they said iCloud was hacked. No, it was cracked. There was a difference between
There's a
cracking and
difference.
hacking.
Yeah,
Yes,
Just
it was
found a little
cracked.
way around it.
What
Little
happened to Sony like a couple years ago where they got all those accounts? That's hacked. This
Yes.
was cracked. Those are the big differences.
Crack-
Was it ever claimed by Anonymous, or who claimed that
No,
they did
it's
that?
like- I think
Someone
it's-
on 4chan. Just
Yeah.
someone
Oh.
that was a 4chan person. And they put it and shout out to the
Fortune, okay.
shout out to the Fappening, which is the name of the it's it's the name of the folder that was titled that has all of the stuff before it was taken down. It was all put into a zip, and they called it the Fappening instead of the Happening. The Fappening.
Yeah.
And anyways, it has all the pictures and stuff. If you guys want a copy, I'll hook you up. So you know.
We'll talk
Anybody-
after the show.
That's for later.
Yeah, the Fappening. Anyway, yeah, it's crazy. And I'll say this: my mom,
Jennifer Lawrence. Very nice. Oh, wait.
she, yeah, really.
I haven't seen that.
She has an iPhone, and she kept being bugged by the cloud thing because the cloud thing bugs the hell out of you to say.
Oh, I thought
you
that
need
was
to
going in a
update.
completely
You need to
different
update.
direction.
Oh, you're sick, fuck. Anyway, it needed to update to cloud. It keeps forcing you to do it, to use the feature, and you could go in and disable it, and that's what I did because I'm like, and my dad's like, "What is that?" And I explained what it is. He's like, "Yes, I don't want nothing," because some of our family members are kind of tinfoil hat. They remove their GPS from their like trucks and stuff because they don't want people to be able to track you down and shit like that.
Does your dad rip out his feelings thinking there are GPS trackers in them?
No, he's not that bad. But some of my uncles probably would. I mean, to be honest with you, but
Yeah.
but no, it's understandable these day and times when you got the NSA spying on people in video games now, and you've got all these privacy issues, and then on the whole other side of it, you got people cracking into shit, just for the fun of it. And, there's a reason for it, of course, and that's to not just to gain popularity, but to make money, because they get a hold of these images, and before it gets all taken down, they get it into a private forum, and they say, hey, we'll charge you such and such money as a donation, you'll have access to the private forum, and boom, you can see it. Or maybe it'll be in a, what do you call it, what are those?
On a news group or something.
News group, right, exactly. Or a torrent site, or what have you.
It's kind of sick, man. Jeez.
Yeah. Jennifer Lawrence has nice boobies, but anyway, next topic.
Yeah. More of a, okay, Sam, yawn.
Jennifer Lawrence, Kirsten Dunst,
Kirsten Dunst has
Victoria
had that for
Justice,
years.
that other
Victoria
chick
Justice,
from Victoria's, a few other, Selena Gomez, there's a regular list of,
So not exactly someone you really, really, really wanted to see.
Giselle Bundchen.
Okay, all right.
I
What?
don't know.
What?
My wife's enough for me.
Yeah.
Are you just
I
saying
could
that
see
because
her-
we're on live?
No,
see her
she doesn't.
watching
No,
the
no,
movie,
she's not.
yeah.
She doesn't watch
We
this
saw
show.
the door crack open, and she's like, thumbs up,
Oh, no, I'm kidding. I can't.
Somebody's not sleeping on the couch tonight,
Speaking of celebrities, nude celebrities, a celebrity you'd never want to see nude died this week. Joan Rivers. Yes, Joan Rivers. In my mind, one of the female pioneers in comedy, died this week at 81. Actually, I think she died yesterday. She was comatose after I think she went in for vocal cord surgery, and it didn't go so well. She was survived by her daughter Melissa and her grandson Cooper. Now, I'll admit this. Joan Rivers I mostly know from later in life, mainly Spaceballs, of course. And the various TV shows and TV specials she's done, notorious for being, very hard on celebrities and mocking them quite a bit. She was one of the original roasters, man. She'd roast on anybody and dig into anybody in celebrity culture. I mean, she was just ruthless and brutal as they could get.
She was the original Queen of Mean, when you think about...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
no doubt. And, she was at one point possibly the replacement for Johnny Carson before NBC screwed her over. Yeah. And then she went to Fox and had a failed talk show, which soured her relationship with Johnny Carson. But, the woman, I'm not a big fan of her comedy per se, but, I do respect her for what she did. She was a very funny lady, and she will be missed. Between her and Robin Williams, we're losing a lot of really great comedians.
Yeah.
Well, Robin Williams was way before this time, in my mind. Joan Rivers was 81, so I can't say it was before her time because, she had a good run.
Yeah, she definitely did.
Yeah. But, it happens.
Yep.
But, cool bit of news. We've been hearing rumors for a while that The Rock was circling a DC Comics property. A lot of people thought he was actually going to be playing Captain Marvel. Shazam. I'm sorry, Shazam, as he is called now.
Yeah,
because they can't use the name Captain Marvel because of, Marvel Comics. Yep. But no, he is actually going to be playing the villain, Black Adam.
Woo!
For those of you who don't know, Black Adam is the evil counterpart to Shazam.
Shazam.
Yep.
Yes. He was, I believe, an Egyptian, like an ancient Egyptian or something, who got the power and went evil.
Yep, he was an Egyptian.
That's a very brief description of Black Adam, but I'm not too familiar with... Captain Marvel's one of the few DC properties I'm not that overly familiar with.
So not another Scorpion King.
Yeah, and I do know they recently turned him into more of an anti-hero than a villain as of late.
I'll be honest, this is a good choice because Black Adam is, as you said, he's Egyptian, so he's a darker complected, and he's obviously darker complected, and I think he kind of, the persona of Black Adam is he's a big, like, roadblock dude. Yeah, and Shazam is basically, he's the exact opposite. I mean, he's essentially a boy in a man's body because he's Billy Batson. Exactly, he's Billy Batson. He's like 12 years old or some shit like that.
By the way, you want to see a really cool comic, Red Kingdom come. What they do to Billy Batson in that is freaking insane.
No, it is. Yeah, it is.
Who do you want to see? Who do you want to see play Captain Marvel? Shazam. I'm still going to call him Captain Marvel. I'm going to
still call him Captain Marvel. Fuck everyone else if they want to.
So who do you want to see play Captain Marvel / Shazam?
Oh man, God, it's the only. I could think of two people that could do it. I'll be honest with you. One is, you're gonna think I'm crazy. Channing Tatum is one possible.
He's Gambit,
but he's also Gambit. So yeah, now he is. It's a recent thing.
I like Taylor Kitsch's Gambit and Wolverine or National Origins.
No,
he was the only good thing in that movie.
The second I was just thinking, and this might be a better one, is the dude who was in the new Expendables movie. Fuck, I'll look it up real quick, but he was
Stallone as Shazam.
No, not Stallone. It's I'll tell you in just 2 seconds.
No, he can play Shazam, the wizard. He's old enough.
Oh, hilarious.
I You guys say Shazam! And Billy Bat's like, Shazam? Oh, Shazam! Shazam? Can you say it and not mumble it? I don't have any idea what you're saying.
Here we go. I pulled it up on the web thing. It's
Six!
Kellen Lutz. Kellen Lutz.
Ah.
That's who. He could do a good Shazam. I mean, he was, as most people know,
Killian Lutz?
Killian Lutz, yeah. He was in Twilight, as most people know him from.
Wait, whoa.
Twilight.
He was in that crappy Legend of Hercules movie. Yeah, you're probably. Oh, yeah. He wasn't a Rennie Harlan movie. Maybe Rennie. Oh, they also did announce a director as well.
But yeah, he was Emmett in.
Or writer.
In
Yeah.
Twilight.
Now.
So anyway. The third movie that we shall not mention in this program.
Twilight. Anyways, no, Twilight's fine. There's only 2 movies that cannot be mentioned. Anyways.
Hold on, one real quick. Matt trips, fall downstairs. At the bottom of stairs, woman with big breast lands into breast. Still a better love story than Twilight. Okay, now continue. Go ahead. All right.
Nice, Beaver.
Anything's better than Twilight.
Anyways, they did announce a writer, Darren Lemec, who also wrote Turbo and Jack and the Giant Slayer, or worked on Jack the Giant Slayer and Turbo. Yeah, those are really great movies. Was brought in to write the script. Also, this will not be a part of the DC Cinematic Universe, or whatever it's going to be called. It is not going to tie into Justice League or Man of Steel sequels, right. Batman vs. Superman. This is a separate property all on its own, which surprises me considering Shazam / Captain Marvel is a big part of the Justice League.
Yes, he is.
Well, he is now. He is now. He wasn't before. He was kind of like the leader. He was the leader of the B team. He was the leader of the B team. But now he is one of the main group. Because remember, they added Cyborg.
Night Shift.
Right. In the Night Shift. They added Cyborg. They added Shazam. Captain Marvel. Those are the 2 main ones they added in the New 52 into the Justice League. So
we don't talk about New 52.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of growing on me a little bit, but
Side note. Other Marvel DC property. They picked who's going to play Raja Ghul in Arrow.
Oh, they did. I haven't seen it yet.
Today, or they announced that yesterday. Australian actor Matt Noble has scored the role of according to Dark Horizons. Australian actor Matt Noble has scored the role of supervillain Raja Ghul in the upcoming season of Arrow. He is best known for playing Boss Johns in Riddick. Actually, he was cool in Riddick.
He was.
Yes. Nice.
Pennock in Killer Elite, and the acclaimed Australian TV series Underbelly and East Wing 101. Looking at the guy, doable. I'm kind of interested to see what their take on Raja Ghul is, to see someone actually play Raja Ghul in live action, not just Liam Neeson. Because he wasn't Raja Ghul. Story for a different time. But,
do you think, though, that he could have played the character if it was done the right way?
Yes. Liam Neeson? Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Neeson could be Batman for all I care. Really, I'd love Liam Neeson, Batman.
Liam Neeson's badass.
Yes, he is.
Tom Hardy could be Batman.
He makes anyone over 40 awesome.
Yes. Thank you, modern technology, for being able to take an aging actor and turn him into an action star later in his career.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Still, favorite movie of his? Darkman.
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 Yes, Darkman. The first one, yeah, because he was in the first. He wasn't in the others. They have what's his face from the Mummy. Vosloo, yeah, from the Mummy.
I loved him in those movies, by the way, but I love Arnold Vosloo, so you know. Right. I kind of got pissed he was kind of short shafted though in the G.I. Joe movies, though.
Yeah.
But also making a return, a surprise return nonetheless. I don't know if you guys remember The Tick back in 2001, the live-action adaptation of The Tick with Patrick Warburton in it.
Yep.
It was good. I loved it. I think it was ahead of its time. I think if it would have came out nowadays, it would be much more of a success because it would be probably something online on Netflix or Amazon.
Oh, yeah.
And guess who picked it up? Amazon.
Amazon,
Oh my
yeah.
gosh.
Is bringing it back with
Hell
Patrick
yeah.
Warburton.
Hell yeah.
I
That is
look
awesome.
forward to this.
With Patrick Warburton, which I'm so happy they did that because he is the Tick. Okay, there's nobody else that could replace him. And that's a funny. If you guys haven't seen it, it's actually on Amazon. If you have
Watch
Prime,
it.
watch
It is
it.
great.
It's worth it. The whole season, all the seasons on it.
Now, it is cheesy, and it's
yeah.
very early 2000s.
Oh yeah, very
But
much so.
it's a very good show. It is funny. It is
as
very. It's a great show. It's nothing like the cartoon, though. If you watch the cartoon, it's much more serious take.
Yeah, it
But
was. The cartoon was more funny.
Yes, but this is definitely like a highbrow kind of show. And
Right.
I think, wasn't Barry Sonnenfeld attached to the TV show from Addams Family? I thought he was involved in somewhat
I
in
think
that.
so. Yeah, I think he was like.
I know Ben Edlund created it, and
I think
he
he
wrote a lot.
created the pilot. I think he did the pilot. I think.
Yeah, he might have, because I remember it, and I was like, that kind. Anyways, it was really good. I really loved The Tick. It was a really good show, and I lasted only, I think, 9 episodes.
Yeah, it didn't last very long.
Yeah, like 10 or 9 episodes, which is sad. Yes, the pilot was directed by Barry Sonnenfeld. And then he went and made RV. God, that movie.
RV.
The end of Robin Williams' long and illustrious career. But, and speaking of long and illustrious careers, tonight's topic. Mario, lead us into it. It was your idea, so please, sir, lead us into our discussion topic for the night.
All right. This kind of topic came on by me and my wife. We were just having dinner. But the topic basically is all about companies, or in matter of fact, for the gaming companies in the gaming community. And I'm talking about the ones that have been here for a while. We're not talking about the ones that sprouted in the last 8 years. We're talking about the ones that have been here for like the last almost 30 years in this case. Companies like Square Enix, Konami,
Say
Capcom.
10 years or older.
Yeah, exactly.
2 generations. Xbox.
What I wanted to talk about was basically how much weight do they have now in the eyes of most of the gamers now that are, let's say, 30 years and older, or 20, or let's say 25 and older at this point. How relevant are they still are now for the future? Or simply going back then. How much were they in this case?
Mind if I start with a biggie?
Go for it.
id Software.
Oh God.
Yes.
God.
Point the company to be with. I mean, literally, no one revolutionized FPSs like they did.
Yep.
Wolfenstein to Doom to Quake 2, Quake 3 Arena. But I think after Quake 3 was kind of where things started going downhill.
Doom 3 was obviously just a fucking disaster, which I knew right out the gate, because that's why they pushed Quake 4 out so quick, because what Quake 4 was just
Doom
taking
3.
the Doom 3 engine, but making it faster, and more multiplayer friendly. Because that's the key to the fucking games, is multiplayer.
I like 4.
Solo player's great, whatever, but let's be honest, multiplayer is what id Software does. And by the way, just want to throw this out there, but there still is a rumor out there that they're working on Quake 5 and also another Doom that might reboot the whole series.
No, Doom's coming out. They've already showed the teaser.
Which I know
for
the
it.
Doom is confirmed, but the Quake 5 is kind of like a lingering behind the scenes. Maybe it's happening, maybe it isn't. Kind
Last
of
one
like
was
Half-Life
put by
3.
Raven.
Kind of like Half-Life 3. It's
Yeah, that's
which
a
goes
topic
into
on its own.
which is another company, okay, to bring up, which is Valve.
Valve. Yep.
Fuck you, Valve, for limiting my bullshit and giving me a 7-day ban because I left a freaking matchmake that had hackers in it. Screw
Oh gosh.
you. Yeah. Here's how awesome there's. Never mind. I'm not gonna go on a rant about.
You
it,
got
but
banned from CS:GO.
You could get. They have. Okay, you know how in CS:GO, they have community servers, which is like the old days where people just host servers.
Yeah.
But then you have Valve servers when you go just choose casual and it puts you in a Valve server. Well, when you do matchmake, which is competitive, they have a system set up where if you like TK someone, you can earn if you do too much damage, you can earn a 30-minute ban to start. Then it increases to, I think, 12 hours, and then it goes 24 hours. Then it goes 7-day ban.
Jeez.
And the 7-day can also be infracted and put in place. Enacted. Thank you. It can be enacted if you abandon too many times. Like you get the same. You get 30 minutes first, then 12, then 24 hour, then 7-day.
Jeez.
And unfortunately, I just recently had a 7-day for the same thing last week, which is why I have 2 accounts now for CS:GO, because this shit happens, and it sucks because they personally, in my opinion, they need to make some major changes in there. But again, that's for another topic. I'd like to put into one of our. Maybe do this as the main one for the end of the show topic for next time.
Okay.
Because I could go on and on. There's like, and you guys would be, because I know you guys don't really know too much about it. I know Matt doesn't. He's played CS:GO once in a while. You've never done comp yet, so you haven't experienced.
No, I have.
Or have you done a comp match? Mm-hmm. Okay, so you know, and you have ranking system and all that. Yep. We can go into that. Another topic.
Yeah, it keeps people from joining in and then bouncing out of the matches too much.
Interesting.
Which if you have a crappy internet connection, which you have a shitty internet connection, you're going to get banned a lot.
Well, that's again. I don't want to go off on that, but that's one of my biggest beefs with it is
but
if
Valve,
your computer crashes or whatever. Yeah.
Sorry, but Valve is still a big name in my mind because Steam is the premier platform for game distribution on the PC.
Right.
I mean, Origins is nothing more than a hair on the chest of Steam. I mean, Origins is EA only in a few. I think there's some non-EA properties on there. But Steam is by far, in a way, a far better platform. Not as good as GOG. I love GOG. I mean, it's DRM free, so what's not to love about GOG? But Steam is still very relevant. Mario, you got one?
Goodness. Let me see. Well, here's a big one right here. I think we'll all talk on the topic of this one. Square Enix. Kind of looking at look at an article my wife brought up was from Kotaku recently, talking about the weight of the company in a way that they represented so much that it was to the point that if you mentioned the name to most gamers, and we're going to go back a few years here, you mentioned that darn company's name to most gamers, and they all pretty much knew what they did. Not so much the case as it's
RPG company.
You're the RPG company that most RPG companies don't want to mess with.
No.
Because your stuff, when it come out, it pushes consoles.
Yes.
It pushes sales. It pushes the imagination. It pushes new things.
Sony is the house that Square built. I mean, in all honesty, Sony had not much going for it at one point other than being the sole home for the Final Fantasy series.
That's pretty much it, yeah.
Up until, 10, I think was the first multi-platform?
No, multi-platform was 13.
No, yeah. 10 was on Xbox.
No,
you're right. You're right. Okay,
13 was
the first.
Was the bigger official multi-platform one? Yeah.
My apologies. But up to that point, they were usually console exclusive for 1 through 6 for Nintendo. 7 through 12 were
all PlayStation.
PlayStation, and then they went multi platform.
And now they've gone, we're going to take 10 years to build you another game at this point. I mean, here's my biggest problem I have with them going on, let's say, from this point now, as we're talking to the future here. Mm-hmm. If it's taking you 10 years to build up another brand new title that you gave us the crap fest on 13, a fairly okay MMO with 14.
Wow, you're being very generous.
See, I know, right?
It was a corridor game. Good God, it's like playing Star Fox as an RPG.
As an RPG, oh, you're right. But here's
Here,
my
walk
big...
down this long corridor and get a monster attack. Oh, there's no exploration. Who needs exploration in an RPG?
Not in the darn slightest.
By the
My
way,
biggest...
complaint I had about Zelda games, but the more recent Zelda games, we'll get into that.
Yeah, but my biggest concern I've got with this at this point right now is this. Now, does anybody realize it's been 10 years? Your developers working on this game are 10 years older. The guy directing, producing, or whomever's on the staff are 10 years older. Yep. The gamers who've been waiting, if they were 21 when this game was announced and everyone's going, yay!
Which game are we talking about here?
15.
Okay.
15, yeah.
Renamed from Versus 13 and all that. Guess what? They're 10 years older still, and it's sad to say, not to say sad, it's unfortunate that a lot of us, with a tiny bit of a little bit of hope, are still holding on to it, kind of saying they're going to come back, it's going to be awesome, this has to be worth 10 years of the wait. And that's where I feel as if it doesn't...
Yeah, God knows Duke Nukem Forever was awesome.
Oh,
I know.
That's
where I'm like, I don't want this company to go away. This company is one that a lot of gamers do hold to the heart.
All right.
You know?
Square, we'll talk about this other company right after this. Square is similar to Nintendo. Now, we'll talk about both companies at the same time. Nintendo used to be, in my mind, the big one to beat.
Mm-hmm.
Up until the N64 and Sony's, which Square was the reason why the N64 failed.
Yeah.
There was no Final Fantasy. They abandoned it because Nintendo unwisely decided to abandon not to abandon the cartridges. One of many mistakes Nintendo has made in recent history. But Nintendo has maintained because of brand loyalty. You see a Zelda game, you're pretty much guaranteed quality. Now, like I mentioned before, there were some issues I had with some of the more recent Zelda games, like the lack of exploration. But, I think that's because people bitched about Twilight Princess being way too large. Fuck you. I love
There was no problem with that.
I love Twilight Princess. Wind Waker suffered from not being too much exploration, suffered from being too large and not enough to do because you spent too much time in the damn ocean.
Very true.
But everything in between was awesome. But I've never played a really bad Nintendo game, and they've maintained the quality of game because of that. Square has a very similar brand loyalty. People are going to buy a Final Fantasy game. It doesn't matter how freaking shitty it is, people will still buy it.
It's unfortunately true.
I have not seen a Final Fantasy game since, I'll say 9, that looked good. 10 was atrocious. 10 was atrocious from everything I've seen. Now, I'm not the biggest Final Fantasy fan, but I've played them. 10 was okay. 10-2 was fan service. 11 was online. 12 and 13 were... 13's a joke. It is not Final Fantasy. That is an embarrassment for a Final Fantasy game.
12
had potential.
12 had its greatest potential. It was only shortcoming I believe it was shortcoming that it was built on a PS2. I think 12 should have been done on PS3.
Possibly. But it wasn't... 12 was them trying to recover. But
in a way, yes. You're right.
Like 90 steps backwards. Square lost its luster a long, long time ago because of they got complacent. They don't innovate. They want to capture that lightning in a bottle. We've talked about this before. They want to capture the lightning in a bottle of Final Fantasy VII. Yep. That is their gold standard. They've never beaten or never gotten past Final Fantasy VII ever, and they're always trying to do that. And to the point they're creating a new version of it. They're got a remake coming out of Final Fantasy VII?
Yeah, they are. They're working on a remake. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like on PS4 tech, or we're talking about a little
recent tech. It's HD.
Oh, so they're just taking 7 and HDifying it like the PS1's HDF.
No, they're doing all the graphics and stuff. Supposedly. It's going to be a real remake. It's going to be I imagine the gameplay is going to be similar, but they're actually doing it with like updated character models and things like that. From what I've heard,
So
it's amazing.
kind of like a Kingdom Hearts 1.5
Like
or
they did
2.
with no, more like what they did with Resident Evil, I think.
Oh, from 1 to the GameCube, where
Yes.
it looked
Yes.
awesome, but yet it played like a tank.
Right, which they're fixing in the remake, the new remake, which we'll talk about Capcom now.
Gosh.
They're doing it again, making another Resident Evil remake, but this time they're putting the play controls from modern era into it, so you don't walk around like a goddamn tank.
Yeah.
Part of me says yay, and a part of me is like, wow, you're really trying to milk that franchise, aren't you, Capcom? But again, Capcom, in my mind, used to be a big player, but they really don't have much in terms of franchises outside of maybe... I mean, they've essentially gotten rid of Mega Man again.
Yeah.
Boo!
Boo,
Yeah.
I know.
Resident Evil is on life support at this rate, even more than Final Fantasy is, because people will keep drinking that Final Fantasy Kool-Aid. People quit drinking that Resident Evil Kool-Aid because they've watered it down so much there's no flavor left in it.
Yeah, really.
Pretty much. That's why Kojima and Guillermo del Toro are now trying to bring back Silent Hill back to
Yeah.
the roots, making it truthfully
By the way,
scary.
that
again.
movie was
Yeah.
great. The
It was
first one.
good.
The
Yeah,
first one
yeah.
was still awesome. Hated
Yeah.
the second one. First one was great.
That's
First
another
one was
movie
good.
that doesn't exist. In terms of- we'll get to one point talking about really bad movie sequels. That's going to be on top of my list. And you know what
That was
isn't on that
fun.
list? Highlander: The Quickening. I really don't hate that movie very much, but there is a Highlander sequel that is on that list and is actually second from the top.
Yep, yep.
Cardi knows what that is.
Highlander 4.
No,
No.
no.
Highlander 4?
Worse than
I
that.
can't.
Worse
I like
than
the
that.
game.
Okay.
Let's put it this
No.
way: it was the very last one they made.
It did,
Oh.
did have Adrian Paul in it, and
Adrian
it
Paul,
was direct to video.
direct to video.
No way.
And now
Oh
I'm
my
forgetting
gosh.
the name of it. What was it again, Matt? I'd just like to hear him say it.
Source.
The source.
Let's
Blah.
talk
Sean.
a single bit of
Blah.
mythology about this universe
Comedy.
and give it the middle finger and recreate it on our own and say it was all bullshit.
Yeah, pretty much.
Wow.
It was all bullshit. There was no game. There was no prize. All bullshit.
So let me get back on topic just a
Back
little
on
bit here.
topic.
Just a hair. So,
Capcom
in-
used to be awesome. Not so much anymore.
Yeah, they're just hinging on basically, let's be honest, Street
Hadouken!
Fighter. Yeah,
And-
that's really They're Street Fighter and the Marvel vs. Capcom and Marvel X
They
Tekken.
learned the company this not make survive.
Pretty much.
Oh, Sega.
Huh.
I can't forget
So,
to mention Sega because
don't even. Let's not even mention that one. That's a different topic. That's like 2 hours on our debating topic.
There is a company that was riding high and reached for that, flew too high, got their wings melted, and they hit the ground hard.
Yes,
They
they
left
did.
a pat crater when they hit the ground.
way to
Do you
go,
think
Sega
Sega-
Saturn.
Do
I
you
think
think
it's bigger than-
I still own mine
Bigger.
proudly?
yeah. A lot of people were
Saturn
still wanting
had
one.
some good games.
Yeah, they
Saturn
did.
had wonderful
No idea
games,
what
man.
the fuck they were, but it had good games.
Knights,
Actually,
was the
Knights,
one, Knights,
the Panzer
one-
Dragoon games.
Panzer Dragoon, dude. Knights
Oh,
was
yeah.
one of those games that
Knights.
it was the
and,
only game that by score scored a quarter of a point lower than Mario 64.
yeah.
Goes to show that Sega had the right game back in the day to challenge Nintendo still.
They
It's
did.
like, well, you can make a good
I
game,
guess full
so
to
do
the-
we.
That was complete ass.
Yeah.
Knight's Journey to Dreams wasn't very good.
Oh, the one on the Wii? No.
Talk
Gosh,
about disappointing sequels. But, you know, Sega, I think their big problem was they just identity crisis. I
Sega's
mean,
no
they're
longer-
like, we want to compete, but we don't know how. Sony kind of did the same thing with the PS3. And then, be honest, if Sony was mainly a game company, they would have ended up like Sega.
Yeah, they would have. Yeah.
They would have. The PlayStation 3 was their Saturn. It really was. But unlike Sega, Sony didn't abandon their platform like a couple years in. So Sega completely abandoned
The Dreamcast.
the Dreamcast. I mean, the Saturn for the Dreamcast, and it pissed off the third parties to the point no one would make games for it anymore. Although I think EA made that shit up because EA knew that Sega was their main competition in the sports game arena, and if they could find a way to not have to make games for their console, they could run them out of business, and they did.
That's right. Sega was one of the bigger consoles back then, further back.
And if you think about for sports games, it was always EA and Sega.
Yep.
EA found a way to put Sega out of business.
Yep.
And I was interesting. What was it when the 2K games came out? Wow, on the Dreamcast, and then you had Madden on PS2. But yet, it was so interesting to see people just say, "Nah, man, Sega does it better. Sega Sports did it so much better than Madden." Yada yada
Still
yada.
do. If Sega was still making sports games now, we would not be stuck in the Madden, the hell that is just Madden clonism. I mean, it's like they throw Madden in the Clone-O-Matic, and you just get that random error to create some new feature.
Yep.
Let me ask you this, though. Do you guys think that Sega was because of, let's just say, like we know Nintendo is because of brand loyalty, because they have their own first-party internal developers that make the games that will sell their console? Sega, in a way, do you think it was a bit of both? Do you think they had, at the time, we're talking pre-Saturn here, that they had both the first-party and third-party muscle power in this case? Do you think that's what made their image back then in this case?
Their image back then was they were hip.
Yeah,
that too.
You know, Nintendo was for kids. If you want to play with the big boys, with the big kids, you get a Sega.
Yep.
Their marketing was amazing. I mean, Sega does what Nintendo don't.
Yep.
You know, they put a big marketing emphasis on the fact their games have violence, where Nintendo's doesn't, especially Mortal Kombat.
Oh my gosh. Dang, I remember that.
What is a better example when the Super Nintendo version comes out and they take the blood out of it, and then the Sega Genesis one, they specifically put advertising that showed all the blood and violence in it. You know, they did that on purpose because you know they wanted to emphasize, hey.
And the Sega CD version was probably the closest to the arcade, even though it has glitches and errors in it. But
yeah.
But then Nintendo kind of came back and said, "All right, we'll make Mortal Kombat 2 just as bloody then, and make it look better."
I thought they saw a green blood in Mortal Kombat 2. I thought Ultimate was the first one.
Mortal Kombat 2 was the first one, and Nintendo completely took the gloves off.
But I think that's where and Sonic, the 2D Sonic games, the first 4.
Oh yeah.
Well, no, 3 Sonic and Knuckles is the rest of Sonic 3. It is one game.
We'll call it 3.5.
No, Sonic 3 actually was Sonic. When they released Sonic 3, it was always an incomplete game. It was an incomplete game when it was released because all those games in Sonic and Knuckles, all those levels were already being worked on. They just didn't have time to finish them. That's how they did that. They released Sonic 3 and then put Sonic and Knuckles on a different cartridge, so the rest of the levels were on the cartridge.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah, they were actually all originally part of one game.
That's why you can connect it and, you know, redo the... I thought it was neat.
Sonic Knuckles was the original expansion pack.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was.
Yep. The first DLC, minus the download part.
DLC without the
exact. Without the download, yeah. That's true.
The CLC. Cartridge, whatever.
Cartridge loadable content. But, you know... A lot of game companies, I think, still do maintain that gold standard that they used to maintain back in the day. You know, Blizzard is still now. Activision is not.
Mm-hmm. No,
Activision. Okay, we'll go to Blizzard here in 1 second. Activision. Do you remember why Activision was founded? Do either one of you know the story of Activision?
Wait, I'm trying to remember here. This had nothing to do with Tomb Raider, did they? No.
Older than that.
Never mind.
That's IDOS.
Never mind, yeah. That was the wrong company there.
Activision was formed because Atari used to not give credit to the game makers back when you made games for Atari. They never told you who made the games. Activision said, and they didn't pay any royalties. You got paid to make the game. That's all you made. Activision said that is bullshit. Here's your game. We're going to let our creators make games. They will get money from the game sold, plus they'll get credit on the game. Is that the Activision we have now?
Well,
Well, it's weird because Activision, is part of Blizzard now. So I mean, it's. I don't know. Really, Activision is not really a.
Do you know what happened with Infinity Ward? And how they screwed them over.
can't recall.
Yeah, I don't remember what happened with all that.
Well,
I remember it was in the news, but
pretty much, you put your shit out as quick as you can, and we're not really probably gonna pay you or give you the money that we promised you. Just keep putting out those Call of Duty sequels
Because they're a cash cow.
Innovative. Just keep putting them out.
Because they're cash cows.
And a lot of their head people left because of that, and it was complete crap on what they did to what Activision did specifically to the Call of Duty franchise. I mean, look at what kind of crap it is now. Activision used to be a gold seal. I mean, early Activision games were great. Now they're just as bad as EA. EA has never been a good company. And Activision is now nothing more than EA. Now Blizzard, completely different story. They put out quality products since they've started, and they still continue to put out quality products, except for Death of Superman. But they still put out quality products. And I mean, WoW is still going. StarCraft 2 was great. Everything else, Diablo 3 was a huge hit. Blizzard takes their time and crafts great games. And I think they will continue to do so. What other companies can you guys think of that are still around, that have been around for a long time and still maintain quality like Blizzard can? Rockstar, maybe?
Rockstar could be one, definitely. Konami. I'd say
they're on a resurgence.
Yeah.
But don't get me started about its latest Metal Gear game.
I mean, if we're going with third party right now, who still maintains it good? Oh man, I mean, I would want to say Naughty Dog. Not that I'm saying. I mean, enough to say. I mean, and enough to say.
But they haven't been around that long.
True. Only because you're right.
Crash Bandicoot, didn't they? Didn't they make the original Crash Bandicoot?
Trying to remember.
Yes, they did.
Yeah, they
Plus,
did.
they also do Sly Cooper on top of that on PlayStation, which I know the game doesn't get much. The game comes out, it gets good scores, but not many people know about it. But yet, it's a good game in this case.
Yeah, it is.
I take back what I said about Blizzard making quality games. I forgot they made that crappy Justice League Task Force fighting game on the Genesis and the
yeah.
Yes, that game was
ass.
Yeah.
I take it back. Almost always made good quality games.
Yep.
But
I mean, it's almost. I almost feel as if the list is just starting to get smaller and smaller, and yet it's also including companies that we grew up with, that you knew you got great games from, but now all of a sudden, and again, this probably goes back with the topic we talked about last week and everything, but the gaming industry just nowadays is just ran as it is, as a business, and as I will say, I'm not in no way, shape, or form saying that no business is not here to make a profit, but there's a point where I'll take, not to say I'll take a hit on my profit, but I want to make sure what we deliver as a company, people are going to remember it.
Yep.
I mean, that's what I would be doing,
So,
but again, that's my aspirations.
you think we're just stuck in they're stuck in cookie cutter mode and don't really give a crap about what they can do as long as they can shove out another $60 game every year that they know people are going to buy, regardless if it's any good or not.
I feel as if that we have companies now on one extreme side of the fence. You either have the one that, like you said, cookie cutter, Activision and EA at this point, and then we got companies like, and dare I say it again, I don't want to mention by name, but they just are. And you have Nintendo, who they take their time, they craft it out, and you still get great. You still feel as if that $60 or $50 or $40 you spent on that game was well worth it.
I've never spent money on a Nintendo game and said, "Wow, I felt ripped off."
Yeah, neither have I. I mean, shit, I felt like that. I felt like that when it was the last couple Sonic games. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me! $60 for this crap? No thanks, man. Toss it out the damn window.
Halfway decent budget titles, maybe.
True, very true. I mean, I gotta say, it's probably been since the PS2 era. I'm gonna be honest. When we jumped into high def, I've actually started returning games back to GameStop, and I'm pretty good about reading up on certain things. Exploring it out, maybe testing at a buddy's place, play a demo, and then I'm gonna go ahead and get it. But then all of a sudden, I started I'm like, oh, this game looks awesome, looks great, looks that. Oh my gosh, that looks so cool. And all of a sudden, it's like, oh God, what is this? What in God's name is this thing here?
So, Chris, what do you think? What company has fallen from good graces, and you hope to return someday to their former self? You have any companies you can think of? Mine will be Nintendo. I hope Nintendo rebounds, and I'm sure they will.
I think they're going on their upslide a little bit. I'm just hoping the momentum stays going up.
Trying to think of one. I'd have to say, God, I don't know. I'd have to say Sega, man. Sega, because they've kind of to me, I think Sega's been kind of slumping a lot, and I think that they could do better. I think they could put out better games. I think they could maybe start coming out with original stuff again.
Is it just me or Sega just put out licensed stuff or Sonic?
I know.
And you can't really even tell which, because that's how dismal it is. I mean, it seems like Sega's kind of like they're there, but it's like, imagine the logo's fading slowly and slowly.
That's exactly, and I'm going to agree with you on that one 100%, Chris. That's where I see where you say Sega, my head will pop up for a second, but then I see how much involvement they truly are in that game. I'm thinking, oh, okay, never mind. It's actually being done, but like we all will say, like Alien here, Gearbox. Okay, it's a Gearbox game. Sega's really just kind of just saying, here's a bit of the money, let's go and just build it for us, but we're not really going to touch and build, or say what it is in this case. Right. And you're right, man, 100%. But yeah, you know what, secretly I have to say, if Sega were to come back in some way, shape, or form, I can care less if they join with Nintendo at this point and say, you know what, we had our differences, we were obviously this way in the past, but we still have franchises that we still hold the licensing to, and I think in combination with how very quality built Nintendo can be, I think Sega and Nintendo, if there was a true merge, I think it would be one of the biggest merges in a long time. And I think it potentially...
It'll happen. I almost guarantee it's going to happen. It's just a matter of time. I think Nintendo... I would be willing to bet between now and the next time they come out with either a handheld or an actual system, between now and then, you will see Nintendo acquires a Sega finally. It'll be done. Well, and they'll probably keep Sega as, Sega will still be Sega, but it'll be under the Nintendo umbrella.
Well, also don't forget, Sega's not the only company they own. They also own Sammy.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right. They do own Sammy. You're right. Yeah. And Sammy does really good. Well, the pachinko machines they own.
That's pretty much all they make.
Yeah,
that's true. Or that, and also certain fighting games that not people talk about, like Guilty
Gear. And they play
a
lot of those racing games and things like those cheap arcade games.
Yeah, they still make a lot of money on arcades because they make a lot of.
Sammy does do a lot of arcade machines.
Yeah, if you ever notice Sammy, I mean, just about every movie theater that has an arcade thing in the front, 90% or probably 100% of those machines are Sammy systems.
Yeah. And just so you know, Sega has 3 main studios really in operation right now. CS1, CS2, and CS3. And the sports R&D. Which sports R&D really only makes the Mario and Sonic games.
Mario and Sonic.
But looking at this list here on Wikipedia, they internally... They have something called the Valkyria Chronicles... Rise of Nightmares, which I remember that game.
Oh yeah, Valkyria Chronicles. I remember that game. It was on PS3.
Other than that, that's all they've made internally, other than Sonic.
And I gotta remember, they had companies under their wing. I don't know. I don't know to call them third parties or just other studios. Like you had Overworks, which did. I'm not sure if any of y'all played this game before. Skies of Arcadia, by any chance?
Yeah.
Do you not tell me that was probably an RPG that absolutely deserved a sequel in some way, shape, or form?
Yeah, I mean, Yeah, but Sega mainly just works as a publisher now. They don't work as a studio. You know, Nintendo's a studio. Yeah, there are some games they do publish, like stuff from Monolith.
Sure.
And a few in Platinum Games and a few other companies. They do actually just publish, but most of their stuff is internally developed. Mm-hmm. Sega used to make everything internally. Nowadays, they're just like, this game's coming out. We'll put it out for you since nobody else will.
Yeah, that's what I feel, as if they're just scraping the bottom, and they are scraping bad.
Yeah,
and it's sad. It absolutely disheartens me to see something that I grew up when I was 8 or 9, and I saw this, and when I first saw the Genesis from my Nintendo, dude, I was flabbergasted, absolutely flabbergasted by how Sega's approach to gaming was, and yet they're not even a shell themselves. They're not even a remnant anymore. Yep. They're like somewhere knee deep down in the abyss, somewhere in a pool. There's all the Sega branded characters that we are all there, and they're just locked up in this little dungeon, and they just can't get out because they just can't.
Yeah, very true. Very true. Well, let's wrap up tonight's show with our weekly recommendation. Either one of you guys got anything great to recommend this week? I did last week, so I don't want to repeat myself.
In terms of like
TV show, something cool that you've seen or know of this week that you're like, you know what, I want to share.
Man, I knew there was something. Hold on. Man, off the tip of my tongue a little bit. Wow, completely eluded me.
You suck, Mario.
I know.
I shall recommend then. I recommend coming out on Blu-ray this week, Tuesday, Captain America, Winter Soldier. If you haven't seen it, what rock have you been living under?
Seriously, yeah, definitely
exactly.
Buy it.
Second best Marvel movie, other than Guardians. Yeah. That's right.
Great movie.
Guardians is awesome, yeah.
That's right. I even preferred it over the Avengers. But, call me crazy. Don't call me crazy. But I do recommend checking it out. If you haven't seen it yet, please buy it. You'll love it. Not as good as Guardians in my mind, but Guardians I think is completely awesome for a completely different reason. It's even a halfway decent political thriller, which is really cool for a Marvel movie. In fact, if you didn't like the first Captain America, you're going to probably much more enjoy the second one. It is way better than the first one.
Oh, yeah.
So, alrighty. Mario, where can they find you on the internet, sir?
Mostly on Facebook. It's by my first and last name, Mario Benegas, and you just type it up. It should be on Facebook. If you got any questions or anything you want me to talk about, I'm definitely available.
Cardi, where can they find you?
Well, they can find me at Cardi TV on YouTube, and also Cardi Loves You on Twitch, which is www.twitch.tv/Cardi Loves You, which is where this stream is being broadcast on currently. And also a copy of this show will be here, as well as on Cardi TV on YouTube. And my Facebook, I'm actually going to set up specifically one for Cardi TV. I'm just trying to get around to it, but you'll probably find me there as well. So, yeah, good times.
And you can find me at AdmiralJoker.com, also on Facebook and Majeski, and on Twitter at AdmiralJoker if I ever get around to tweeting. And you can find all of our content at 4tw.admiraljoker.com. We will have 4tw.com up and running soon. We do have a website. Please pardon the construction. It is still in development. I have a lot more content, or I have a lot more design stuff coming up, so please keep an eye out on that site. Plus, if you have any suggestions or comments, please let us know. So, for Cardi and Mario, this is Admiral Joker saying good night, guys.
See you later.
Good night.